That's actually a really interesting topic, because for a long time there was one way to get on the radio, and it was get a record deal, and they have a promotion team, and they take you out and you play the game, and there's these reporting stations that you care about and the other stations you don't care about, and you do everything you can for those reporting stations. And just in the last, I would say 5 or 6 years, there's a kind of a new way of doing things, because there's so much more of an independent spirit now, and there's so many more independent artists and independent labels, and I mean just independent everything, publicists. There's just kind of a whole, the major label system has kind of become a little bit less important, and there's been sort of a rise of a new way of doing it, which is an independent way. And so now there are 5 or 6 of these promotion teams for hire, and an artist who wants to kind of keep everything in-house and likes their management and likes, you know, the team that they have assembled around them can just hire one of these fully intact promotion teams who are made up in every case of experienced veterans who've all worked at labels and have great contacts with radio. So they can hire a New Revolution or a Bigger Picture, CO5, Quarterback, 9 North, Turnpike, I'm forgetting one. But those have all sprung up with great staffs, and they're fully capable of taking artists out to radio. And there have been a few successes. I would say, generally speaking, they're not as successful as the major labels tend to be, but there's a whole different set of criteria there, where major labels have a lot of juice, you know, where they can leverage a bigger artist for something for a smaller artist, and they do it all the time. But there have been, Tracy Lawrence is a great example with Find Out Who Your Friends Are. He hired an independent promotion team to work that record. Now granted, that record had the huge benefit of also having Kenny Chesney and Tim McGraw on it, so it was likely to be a hit anyway. But if, you know, Tracy had just said, hey, I'm just going to ship this out to radio and see what happens, it never would have flown, even with those superstars on the record. But he hired a team that really worked it, and I believe that single went all the way to #1, and that was probably the first example of people going, hey, this can work. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, radio is still sort of the be-all and end-all. People talk all the time about, you know, different ways of marketing and different ways to get, you know, your product out there and get the word out. And some of those things are successful in limited ways, but, you know, internet campaigns, etc. But for now, radio still remains the absolute #1 exposure vehicle for music. And so getting on the radio is really absolutely critical. It's not the only vehicle, but it is the most important vehicle.